Good morning, everyone. I am Edith Njuguna, and I'm the director of the Success Network. We are going to kick off the conference by hearing from our Student Advisory Council.
Hi, my name is Loyd. I attend Rocky or Rockon High School. I'm currently a senior.
My name is Jocelyn Smith. I go to Rockford East High School in Rockford, Illinois. I am a senior.
Hi, my name is Alex Casas. I'm a senior at Mendota Township High School in Mendota, Illinois.
I'm Jeremy Avens, senior at East St. Louis High School.
I've been volunteering almost all 4 years of high school, so being voted vice president of a club that focuses on volunteering and helping the community was something that was really exciting for me because it felt like I was getting recognition for all my work that I've done.
One time I felt very successful at school is when my counselor pulled me down a couple of months ago and told me that out of all of these students that I would be qualified to fill out this senior memorial scholarship.
I'm enrolled in AP Stats, and many people told me that it will be an easier class compared to Honors Pre-Calc or AP Calc. And I took that and just kind of became lazy. I was like, okay, this class is easy, I'm just going there, knock it out the way. That was not the case. I did very terrible in my first few tests, and I kind of felt bad. But then I started studying and getting up on my feet, and then I started getting A's. Yeah, I think that's what, getting that first A in that class, I was like, yes, I'm finally successful.
I decided that my senior year, if I could, keep the same mindset, I could prevail through a rigorous course. So I selected 7 AP classes. In certain classes, my chemistry class being the most, I feel, the class that I have to try the hardest in. So when I get to a point in my AP chemistry class where I'm actively participating in a lesson to the point to where I'm teaching some of my classmates how to do it in front of the class, I feel that probably brings me the most joy because I know that I used to struggle with this and now I'm helping someone else.
I'm in the Service Academy, and my pathway is teaching and an educational pathway. That child development class, sophomore year when I took it, it really kind of just pushed me more towards wanting to do it. Before sophomore year, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to work with children, and with just the things that I went through, I wanted to help kids not feel the same way or not know that they didn't have help, that they did have someone helping them through it regardless of what I was doing. And that really just helped me solidify what I wanted to do. So
on my end, I decided that I wanted to go to college. So here we have counselors that's putting everything into play for you. So they're working overnight, finding the latest scholarships, scholarship platforms, scholarships to provide to the students. Regular meetings to make sure that all the students are on task with these things and make sure that if you want to graduate, basically, you got to have these things. You got to have a plan.
So this year, I've taken a lot of dual credit classes, and it's been a big help to kind of getting that college experience and getting out of that high school mindset where teachers kind of hold your hand and things are due, but they aren't really due. So I think it's given me a lot of responsibility and helped me mature in that way.
I'm a part of AVID, so that's a college and career ready class. It taught me a lot about what college is and the opportunities that are there for everyone, not just a certain group of people.
After graduating, I do plan on taking a gap year, but I hope to return to school and get some kind of business degree or a degree in accounting, and I really do want to open my own bakery sometime in the future.
What's next for me is college. I know this is such a cliche answer, but I really want to go to college and get my degree in psychology. I'm really interested in how the mind works and how people operate in their everyday life and why people operate the way they do. I'm planning to attend the Northern Illinois University.
This fall, I will be attending Morehouse College, majoring in business finance with a minor in economics. I plan to return to my community and launching my nonprofit trading organization to give people a financial fighting chance in the community.
I've decided that I wanted to go to college, and I want to major in either child development, child psychology, or psychology, and minor in education. And I want to go to either Northern Illinois University, Ripon College, or University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee.
Not every student is the same person.
I think they should have more support. Yes, I feel like that students should more have support with what they decide to do and moreover tailor it to them.
I think it's really important to continue to push programs like Major Clarity, which is like career exploration, onto students. It may be something they find boring and they don't want to do, but it definitely helps them even if they don't know it yet. But I also think it's important to kind of make these things seem more fun.
So I feel like if we should have more opportunities outside of school, where they're helping just a little bit and mostly giving it so that the student takes that leadership, I feel like that would help out a lot on what students decide to do after high school.
I would say consider what each student is going through, because we all have a different life outside of school. And I feel like many teachers and just administrators don't know this. We all have different resources. We all have a different home. Not everybody is living the same life. I know for me, I live a very busy life outside of school. Even though I do all these clubs, I have another busy life outside of school that I do.
To all of you that's watching, when you're creating these policies, I ask you to see me as a person, not as a number, not as a trial or an experiment, but as a person with feelings, a person with a future. When you cultivate these strategies, ask people like me, the people that the strategies are being cultivated for, what would they like? What helps them learn? Because that's what it's all about.
Such thoughtful insights from our Student Advisory Council. I ask that you hold one of them in your mind as you go through the conference. So as I said earlier, I'm Edith Njuguna, Director of the Network. I'm really excited to see all of you in person after 2 years of virtual convening. And this is the largest gathering we had. We had over 330 registrants. So very excited to have you here and great to connect with some folks who I have only talked to on Zoom. And this is our 10th year anniversary. So very excited to celebrate that. And I just want to walk you through some of the highlights from the last 10 years. And so the story really begins in 2008 when the Illinois P20 Council set a goal that 60% of Illinois adults should have a high quality degree or credential by 2025. And right now, Illinois is at 56.9%, and we're actually projected to get to 60%, but we're not all going to get there together. When we break down the data, the demographic data, we find that our Black and Latinx residents are not moving at the same pace. And so this is why equity is a really important focus of the network. And so in 2013, these three organizations, Advanced Illinois Education Systems Center and the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, came together because we were hearing about a number of collaboratives that were coming up across the state to work on increasing post-secondary attainment. And we recognized the need to create a network where folks could learn from one another, share best practices, and really serve as exemplars to others across the state on how you can bring partners from different sectors together, develop shared goals, and use data to inform decision-making. And the network's goal is to support communities to increase meaningful and equitable post-secondary attainment. When we talk about meaningful, we're really talking about ensuring that students are pursuing attainment that is of interest to them and that allows them to earn a living wage. And when we talk about equitable, we're talking about ensuring that we are reaching students who are farthest from opportunity. And then in 2014, we hosted the inaugural conference in East Peoria. We had over 100 people show up, so that was a sign to us that these kinds of convenings are helpful. And then in 2015, we established leadership communities and awarded the first Spark grants. Now, Spark grants are small mini grants that help communities implement strategies that they identify. We started with 6 communities in 2015 and are now 18 communities strong. And I know that we have several representatives from communities here. So if you could just raise your hand to be recognized. Thank you all for being here. And you will be hearing directly from leadership communities at lunchtime to learn more about what they've been up to. And then in 2016, the Post-Secondary and Workforce Readiness Act was signed into law. This has been a critical piece of the work of the network because several communities are implementing the strategies in this act. Many of you in this room were involved in developing those strategies before it was signed into law. This is what brought us the Post-Secondary and Career Expectations Framework, the College and Career Pathway Endorsements, Transitional Instruction, and competency-based education. And you'll be hearing about those strategies in the course of today. And then in 2016, we launched the Cradle to Career Dashboard. This is a dashboard that pulls together education and workforce data so that communities can use that information to make decisions about where they need to work harder and to see where they're making progress. In 2017, we established the guiding team. We realized that we needed additional voices at the table to help inform both what we do and how we do it. And I know we have several guiding team members here today. So if you could raise your hand to be recognized. And some of you might not be raising your hands, but I see you. Thank you for all that you do. And then in 2020, we released our first impact report, and this showed that leadership communities are leading the way in policy implementation. And I'll talk a little bit about that now. So we've found that Illinois Community College remedial math enrollment has fallen both at the network at 26.4 percentage points and at the state level by 22.7 percentage points between 2013 and 2020. This is huge. This means that tens of thousands of students across the state are now able to enter into credit-bearing math courses in any community college and in some four-year institutions, rather than spending time and money taking remedial math courses that they pay for and that they do not earn credit for. And the network was driving reduction in state declines for a number of years and is still setting the pace for remediation reduction for the rest of the state. So very excited to see that, and we attribute this to the strengthened partnerships between secondary and post-secondary partners. And then in 2021, we launched the Student Advisory Council. You just heard from some of them, and these students come from leadership communities. I have learned so much from this group. They bring different perspectives and are really fun to work with. Just look at those faces. That's the reason we're here today. In 2022, we rebranded as the Illinois Education and Career Success Network. We were formerly known as the 60 by 25 Network. And this was a recognition that our mission and vision will continue beyond 2025. In 2022, we also had over 500 students in leadership communities earn the College and Career Pathway Endorsement. And an endorsement demonstrates student readiness for post-secondary programs and entry-level learning experiences in a selected sector. There were over 600 students statewide, but over 500 of them were from leadership communities. Again, we attribute this to the strengthened relationships in the communities and the hard work that they're doing. In 2022, we also launched the Policy Committee to deepen the connection between policy and practice. We really see the work of leadership communities as the tip of the spear for the policies that are developed at the state level. And we want to ensure that there is a bi-directional approach and that folks are learning from one another and communities can say, this is not working for us, and that can be shifted at the state level. And as the state puts in policies, they are taking into consideration what communities need to do. And so that committee meets quarterly, and you can check our website for more information and to sign up. So looking ahead, We are excited to host 3 webinars on April 10th, April 17th, and April 24th. Again, this information will be on our website. You'll be able to sign up for them, and these are virtual, so you can join from the comfort of wherever you will be. The other thing that we're really excited about is the launch of the dashboard version 2.0. A big shout out to our Impact Fellow Memusi, who's been working really hard on this. And this will allow you to go in and get information that can help inform decisions that you're making. And this is just an example of what it will look like. So there's an interactive map. You can hover on that and find your district. And this is an example of a district that's actually outperforming the state in terms of post-secondary attainment. So this is the kind of information you'll be able to have to inform decisions in your communities. So in terms of the dashboard timeline, launching very soon is information on post-secondary remediation and post-secondary enrollment. Phase 2 will have 9th grade on track and graduation rates. Phase 3 will have early college and CTE. So very excited to have this new launch, and we'll be sharing more information about that on our website. And then we will continue supporting you to work towards increasing meaningful and equitable post-secondary attainment. Thank you all for joining us on this journey, and thank you for your partnership. And now it's my pleasure to introduce my boss, John Furr, the Executive Director of Education Systems Center, to introduce our keynote speaker.
Good morning. I'd first like to take a moment just to thank Edith and for her leadership for the network. We really wouldn't be where we are today with her taking that role. Thank you, Edith. And also really to thank the staff of the network organizers, ISAC, Ed Systems Advanced Illinois, who have worked really hard to carry out today. So again, really want to give a big shout out to Sarah, in particular, who's done some amazing work, all the rest of the team members. So if we can give a round of applause for pulling this up. Thank you. So I just want to say that we are thrilled to have a sold out audience for this 10-year celebration for the Success Network. We certainly hope that no one had to go through a Ticketmaster scalper to get your ticket today. But just in case you did, we're still very glad that you were able to be here and to join us. I am honored to have the opportunity to introduce and speak this morning with Dr. Amy Loyd, who is the Assistant Secretary for the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education, otherwise known as OCTAE, at the U.S. Department of Ed. So in this role, she oversees national programs related to career and technical education, community colleges, adult ed and literacy, and correctional education. So a small little portfolio. Prior to joining the Biden-Harris administration, Dr. Loyd was a vice president at Jobs for the Future, or JFF, where she designed and led programs across the United States that improve education and workforce outcomes. And we have the privilege of partnering closely with JFF and with Amy and the Pathways to Prosperity Network, where they were really focusing on what are those state and regional policies and the practices and the cross-sector partnerships that can help to drive improved career outcomes for young people in post-secondary attainment, very much aligned with the work that all the folks within this room are engaged in doing today. And she was able also to bring, though, to both of these national roles direct experience from the field, as she was previously the Director of Education at the Cook Inlet Tribal Council, leading a network of schools providing culturally responsive education, training, and wraparound services to the Alaska Native and Native American communities. So to start off our session here today, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Loyd, who's going to share with you OCTAE's vision for college and career success, and hopefully be able to generate some excitement for you about the ways that the federal government can support your work. So Amy, I'll turn it over
to you. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you all today. Can you hear me okay from where I am? All right. Cache, buenos dias, and hi, everyone. what a joy to join you in celebrating your 10th anniversary of the Illinois Success Network. Congratulations. I'm so excited to be here. I think John and I were talking last night. I think I was at the East Peoria event way back when and have really appreciated learning from you, supporting you however I can in whatever role in the sector I'm in, and celebrating your progress over the last 10 years. Frankly, I'm truly inspired by your deliberate and your strategic policy, partnership, and programs that you are co-creating to advance powerful pathways at scale across Illinois. Thank you for your leadership, for your commitment to this critical work. And before I get into my policy speech, happy International Women's Day, right? As a side note, I love that we get to create amazing career pathways that lead to greater gender equity in our labor market. And we are indeed accelerating equitable success by doing so. So I want to applaud you on that front. I'd love to get a sense of who's in the room. Can you raise your hand if you're from K-12? Okay, excellent. How about higher ed? Nice, good mix. Nonprofits or community-based orgs? Right on. Business and industry? Oh, all right. Thank you, business and industry, for being here. How about workforce development, economic development? Any other categories that I did not? There's a whole bunch of other? Government or? Well, we'll let you. I'd love to catch up and learn your role in the sector. How about rural communities in the room? Handful of rural. I see you back there, Josh. Excellent. Well, we need all of us, all of you, to bring this work to life. And I'm here today because I believe in the power of the people in this room and the people in this great state of Illinois and across our country to together raise the bar for our education system. As John mentioned, I have the enormous honor of serving as the Assistant Secretary for the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education, known as OCTAE, because we love a good acronym at the federal level. And if you aren't familiar with us, our work really sits at the intersection of education, workforce development, and economic development. So we administer the federal Perkins program, which funds career and technical education, as many of you probably know well. And we also administer Title II of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, known as WIOA, which funds adult education and family literacy. But we also lead our agency's focus on expanding and strengthening career pathways and career pathways systems, community colleges, and correctional education. And in everything that we do, we are fully grounded in a commitment to equity and excellence and in meeting our learners where they are and supporting them to get to be where they want to be in their careers, in their communities, so that ultimately education lives up to the promise that we all hold for it, right? That we're providing equitable and lifelong economic and social upward mobility. So I'm here today on behalf of Secretary Cardona, on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration, to express our deep appreciation for the work you lead on behalf of our students and their families and our communities, and shout out to the Illinois Success Network for starting our day grounding in the voices of our young people. Like, Gen Z has a powerful voice, and we need to listen. Like, we need to make sure that we heed the young man who said, remember, I'm a person. Don't design things without me. I think about the adage, nothing about us without us. So thank you, all of you, for your commitment to centering the voices and the needs and the values and the vision that our young people hold for their future. Because frankly, like, we are all here in service to them. Secretary Cardona has charged me to seize this moment we're in. While we're still in the wake of the pandemic, while we've still lived through, frankly, the unthinkable, but demonstrated that transformation is indeed possible, and to bring to life our shared vision to, frankly, like, raise the bar, unlock career success, I'll talk a little bit more about both those things, and transform our nation's education system and our high schools to better blur the lines between the world of school, K-12, post-secondary education, the world of work, and create coherence through integration and alignment of what has been for far too many of our young people, and frankly, for far too long, a totally disjointed and often entirely disconnected journey into adulthood. So we know that regardless of our students' educational trajectories, every single student in our education system is headed to a job, and ideally not just a job, a career. And today we know practically all good jobs, like those that provide a life-sustaining wage, as Edith was saying, stability, benefits, opportunity for worker voice, pathways for advancement, all of these require some sort of post-secondary education, whether that's a technical school, a community college, a four-year degree, a registered apprenticeship, workforce development. We know our students need more than a high school diploma to thrive. And yet we know when we send our most precious thing in the world, our children, off into college, it's still a coin toss on whether or not they're going to complete it. Never mind whether or not the degree or credential they attain will lead to a rewarding career. And this is entirely unacceptable. So I love that you've set this goal of post-secondary attainment and you are deliberately working towards connections across secondary and post-secondary with your labor market in ways that we as a nation need to reimagine education. Just last month, well, and like, frankly, it's not just about labor market outcomes. It's also about what many of the young people this morning were speaking to. It's like the kind of work we want to see everywhere that leads young people to, yes, rewarding careers, but also joyful futures, like with choice and self-determination in them. And so just last month, President Biden called out the urgency of our shared work in a State of the Union address. He said, I'm not going to try to imitate his voice, but I almost did. He said, let's finish the job, connect students to career opportunities starting in high school, and provide 2 years of community college, some of the best career training in America, in addition to being a pathway to a 4-year degree. And if you watch the State of the Union, you may have seen the young woman sitting right next to First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. Her name is Kate, and she's a 10th grade computer integrated manufacturing student at Rolling Meadows High School in District 214, Laws, in District 214, Harper College, and other regional partners in the Northwest suburbs. You all probably know them well. They probably need no introduction in this audience. And you are likely familiar how that region is preparing students for future careers through partnerships like all of you are doing with community colleges, work-based learning opportunities with employers, career advising programs. I know the power of the work that not just the Northwest suburbs, but every single region that's coming together in this room is doing. Like whether it's from the power of what I call the POWER Act, the Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act, and the efforts you're making in career and college readiness and success across the board that Edith spoke to over the past 10 years. I'm so appreciative of the leadership communities in this room and your demonstration of what's possible. And that's why we came to Illinois last November. And that's when the First Lady met Kate during a site visit to Rolling Meadows to highlight our Biden-Harris administration commitment to this work, to strengthening our economy, building pathways from high school to good-paying jobs through career-connected learning. And Secretary Cardona, along with the Secretaries of Labor and Commerce, Walsh and Raimondo, joined us on that visit. And we launched what's called the New Pathways Initiative called Raise the Bar, Unlocking Career Success. So we're all in as an administration on this. We're serious about this work at scale. And also, earlier this year, Secretary Cardona elevated our work in career and technical education and in reimagining career and college pathways to one of his core priorities in his Raise the Bar, Lead the World speech. And I don't know that you follow federal policy and all the speeches that people make, but if you haven't seen or read his speech, I recommend that you take a look. It really underscores the urgency and the focus that our administration's placed on this topic and that you've been committed to for a decade now. He's charged me with my team at OCTAE to really build out specific plans in partnership with and in service to you to ensure that we are really supporting our education system to evolve to meet the needs of today's and tomorrow's economy. So college and career pathways is one of 6 core goals that we have that the Secretary's laid out for us in Raise the Bar. There are 3 core priorities for our nation's education system. One is achieving academic excellence. The next is around boldly improving learning conditions. And the third is around creating pathways for global engagement. So in academic excellence, it will be no surprise, things like accelerating learning for every student, especially in the wake of the pandemic. We don't love the term learning loss. We're really thinking about how we meet each student where they are and that we're accelerating them from wherever they are to bright futures, and ensuring that we also deliver a comprehensive and rigorous education for every student, that we think holistically about their academic needs and their vision for their futures. In improving learning conditions, our 2 goals are eliminating the educator shortage for every school, including diversifying and strengthening our educator workforce. And we know that in areas like career and technical education, in STEM, special education, other fields, we have tremendous need for talented educators. And the other goal in that bucket is investing in every student's mental health and well-being. So thinking about how we know we can have the best content in the world, we can have the best teachers in the world, but we have to think of our students as whole people. Again, thinking about our students' voices this morning, think about them holistically, how we support them to show up to school to be their best selves, their best learners, so that they really can engage in powerful teaching and learning and connections to career and community. But the third core priority area, the creating pathways for global engagement, is where our work really shines. And frankly, this is the space where the Secretary believes, by virtue of our work being uniquely bipartisan, uniquely resonant to this moment in time in the pandemic, he believes, the administration believes, this is where we can make the most traction in really seizing this moment to transform education. So one goal in that bucket is focused, I love this one, on providing every student with a pathway to multilingualism, because we're recognizing that we trail behind, frankly, most countries in the world on this front. And if we're going to have our young people really compete in a global economy, multilingualism and multiculturalism are what the Secretary calls superpowers. But the other goal is our work, ensuring that every single student has a pathway, a bright pathway, a clear, transparent pathway to post-secondary education, to careers, with CTE as a foundation for this work. So when we say every, we mean every. And our new nationwide Pathways Initiative, Raise the Bar, Unlocking Career Success, advances our administration's vision that every single student will be on a career pathway in high school that includes leaving high school with 4 keys to unlock their career success. So 1, college credit; 2, experience in the workplace; 3, an industry credential that they can use; and 4, a plan to achieve their career ambitions. So to that end, we're launching this year a new $25 million grant program for career-connected high schools that I'm really excited about. This program is designed to catalyze how our high schools, our community colleges, and other institutions of higher education and business and industry collaborate. And the program will allow the department to award 5-year grants to communities across the country who are going to work to break down these silos between K-12, higher ed, between education and the world of work, and to implement a more holistic and integrated approach, much like you are doing here. We know that key stakeholders beyond education and business and industry are critical to the success of this work. We really value the role of intermediary organizations, of workforce boards, economic development, community-based orgs, faith-based organizations, and our broader career-connected strategy, Unlocking Career Success, emphasizes the role of state and local cross-sector collaboration and systems building, including the alignment of policy and leadership across public and private sectors. Again, much like you are doing here. So through Unlocking Career Success, I just want to share that we want to transform our nation's approach to high school so that all students, not just those who are fortunate to be in awesome, high-quality CTE programs, but all students experience the following 4 things while in high school. So one of the young women spoke to it today. We want students to benefit from dual credit, dual enrollment classes in both core academic content, so that first math and English class, so they're not stuck in developmental education, as Edith spoke to in her slides, and also a couple of career and technical education courses or career-connected courses to help them explore their possible futures. We want to break the cycle of developmental education, and we want to propel students towards that first post-secondary credential. The second is we want all students to benefit from work-based learning, ideally paid work-based learning opportunities in which they're applying their incredible knowledge and skills in real-world settings. That they're extending their learning beyond the classroom and into the workplace and into the community. So we think about paid internships, we think about apprenticeships, other on-the-job training programs, and ultimately, I think about how we want our young people to work alongside and with leading professionals who are mentoring them, who are providing them with ongoing feedback and support to help them grow, who are connecting them to networks of other professionals, and who honor and respect our students' knowledge and skills and experiences by engaging them in meaningful work that shapes their futures. And we envision local, regional, and state ecosystems in which our high schools, our community colleges, and our employers are all working together to create an aligned continuum of experiences for students and think about how they're applying that knowledge in real-world settings. So I think about your PACE framework and how deliberately you have built that out to demonstrate the knowledge, the skills, the experiences that you want students to have. Like, that is an exemplar of what we want to see everywhere. The third thing is that we want students to earn industry sought credentials while in high school. And I say industry sought deliberately, not just industry recognized. The Credential Engine has found this now over 1 million credentials out there in the world. But how do we know that these are the credentials that employers need and seek in their job postings and that are reflective of the skills their existing workforce so that students can successfully launch their careers with skills and confidence. We need our community colleges to work with our high schools and with our employers to ensure that the credentials students are earning in these programs of study are all the things we want credentials to be: stackable, portable, integrated into degree programs, latticeable. And then finally, we want to make sure that our students are receiving ongoing personalized career advising, which ensures that they have relevant information, navigation supports, and putting into the hands of our students and their families the information that they need to make real choices about their futures. Excuse me. I get really fired up and then I get talking. Can you tell I love this work? And while our new grant program focuses on career-connected high schools, this work must be reverse engineered from our employer need and work in partnership with business and industry. And our community colleges are vital to the success of all of this work. We've been talking a lot at the department and at the administration as a whole about the essential hub role that our nation's community colleges play. So we know that they help to bridge the divides between K-12, higher education, adult education, workforce development, economic development. They are frankly lifelines to opportunity for our rural students, our students of color, students from low-income backgrounds, students who are juggling work and family and just life beyond school, and students seeking the skills and credentials that will help them advance. So we really want to elevate the central role that our community colleges can and should play in systems of career pathways. And I also want to remember that just over half of us with bachelor's degrees, myself included, have community college credits on our transcripts. And while I'm myth busting, I'll remind us that our CTE students go on to attend four-year colleges at the same rate as their non-CTE peers, often also starting in community colleges. Thank you, Edith. Community colleges have no wrong doors and no dead ends. And on the contrary, they're conduits to opportunity. So we see pathways as options multipliers and community colleges as accelerators to help us get there. For example, community colleges will be essential as we're helping students prepare for the high-paying technician jobs that will be made available through these unprecedented federal investments in things like the CHIPS and Science Act, bipartisan infrastructure law, the climate provisions in the Inflation Reduction Act. Again, you probably aren't following federal policy as closely as I am. I live and breathe it these days in ways I never thought imaginable. But there's so much exciting investment that's happening, and we need to better infuse the innovation and growing kind of opportunities in these sectors in areas like advanced manufacturing, in semiconductors, in broadband, electric vehicles, clean energy, and more into our systems of career pathways, because this is our future. And our students want and need access to these so that they can graduate with strong options for success. Okay, I've gone on for a while. I'm ready to get to the conversation with John in just a minute, but I want to say that I worked in education and workforce development for over 25 years now. I joined the administration because I really believe in the president's agenda and the secretary's vision and commitment to break down the silos that frankly have historically been between education, workforce, and commerce. And we're trying to walk that talk ourselves as much as possible. So as you are encountering silos that we may have inadvertently built up through funding streams, through the language we use, through how we're approaching education, workforce, economic development, please let me know. We have standing meetings weekly, but I work on almost a near daily basis with my colleagues across those, other two agencies and frankly, our whole of government to be core partners in unlocking career success. We're committed to living cross-sector collaboration that we want to see at the state and regional and local levels. And it takes a village to build a pathway, right? We can't successfully support our young people to really transition to adulthood and develop the skilled workforce that we need so badly and strengthen, frankly, our civic life without all of you and without all of us actively collaborating, reimagining what collaboration looks like beyond our traditional silos. So we need what I've been calling radical collaboration, extensive and meaningful public-private partnerships and new ways of working together. So I believe this is our moment. This is our responsibility to transform and redesign our education system. What we do right now, what you are doing right now, to reimagine your system so that every single student is energized and excited and engaged in powerful learning that connects them to their communities and nurtures career aspirations, provides them with a head start on college. This is what's going to truly set a powerful course for our nation's future. So you have our support and partnership. You have this great charge to move from, not just programs serving some students, but really systems change writ large. And I am so inspired by you and your work. And here's to the next 10 years and beyond of the Illinois Success Network and the bright future that we're building for our young people. So, Alakwa, gracias. Thank you. Let's get to your questions and discussion.
Test, test. Ooh.
Oh, great. First step in our conversation is successful. We have the mics on. Well, good. Well, the goal here is just to have a conversation with you. But we're also going to have some time at the end of this to allow for questions from the audience as well. So be thinking about any questions you might have for Amy. And again, we're so excited to have you here to share that vision with us. So as you heard about our theme, and I know we have this on the boxes on the tables, it is accelerating equitable success. And I know certainly from your work at JFF and at the Cook Inlet Tribal Council, that you have a deep commitment to advancing racial equity in your work. And we'd love to know kind of how your experience that you've brought from those efforts at JFF with the Tribal Council is starting to translate and move over to the work you're doing from the federal government standpoint.
Great question, and thank you for centering this conference and all the work that you do and your commitment to equity. I, joined the administration for many reasons, one of which is our president's commitment to equity. On his first day in office, he signed an executive order on advancing racial equity, in particular in the federal government, and set a charge for us to really center our work in equity and excellence, as I mentioned. And, I think about things like dual credit, dual enrollment, which is such a powerful lever, research-based, evidence-based, student voice-based lever for transforming post-secondary outcomes. And across the country, like, access is deeply inequitable, frankly. And students who participate are often those who have the means and the resources to engage. And we know brilliance and capacity and potential is equitably distributed across our young people in our communities, but access to and engagement in high quality opportunities that meet that brilliance is not. And so I love our work in career and technical education, in career pathways. For the first time ever, we just got our Perkins 5 data in last year that breaks down our data by subgroup in new ways and allows us to not just admire the problem of the equity gap, because I think it's great to have data, and it's great to say, okay, we, even, in this great state with this great work, we have disparities, as Edith mentioned, between Black and Latinx learners and their white counterparts. I'm Native American and Latina, and so I see in my communities deep disparities. So let's use this data to not just admire the problems, but to really think about creative solutions to closing equity gaps. And so we're working with states on data quality, on thinking about how we can use data and use the voices of our communities to shape programs that really respond to their needs more equitably. And I'm going to grab my water.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Amy. And that kind of leads to the next question that I wanted to ask you about. So we are really excited that we're getting closer to that 60% goal. But as we all talked about, and as we know the gaps that we have, particularly for the Black and Latinx community members. It's just not something that we as a state can accept and that we have to address. And we are learning from our peers in this network, but we also want to learn from our peers across the country. So we'd love to hear anything that you've seen in your work, whether at the federal level through JFF, about how other states and communities are really trying to bring together education workforce to tackle the equity gaps that they're seeing in their communities.
I often point to you. But I really am grateful that we have a space in this career pathways work that, as I mentioned, kind of transcends politics. It's one of the uniquely connecting bipartisan spaces around which we can all gather. And I often refer to our pathways work as kind of the Dr. Seuss of states. Like, it works really great in big states, small states, red states, blue states, purple states. And so I, look to what your neighbors nearby in Indiana are doing in their pathways work, and really thinking innovatively about ensuring that they're centering equity and how they're designing access to an engagement in pathways. I think about Texas, also a very red state that has deliberately built out systems of career pathways and access to dual enrollment, and now thinking about post-secondary transitions with a lens on equity from the very start for over a decade, almost 2 decades now, in their early college work, now expanding to include careers. California has just invested another, oh my goodness, I mean, California is like its own country, $500 million in Golden State Pathways work. And they are absolutely driven by equity, what they're doing from their policy design at the state level to how they're thinking about building cross-sector partnerships in partnership with community to deliver on this. I have the honor now of working with a colleague who was formerly at the Delaware Department of Education, Luke Ryan, who built out their system. Marcy's nodding her head, she knows him well. Their system of career pathways, where when he first started this work, he was, I think they had like 28 students in an advanced manufacturing pathway. They now have over 20,000 high school students in career pathways built equitably with ensuring that they're serving their communities of color, communities experiencing poverty, first and foremost in all of that work. And so thinking about how different states are approaching it from a policy lens and from a data lens, like this work is possible in all contexts. I've been thinking about and why I asked who's here from rural, about the disparities in urban, suburban, and rural areas as well. And that's a big priority for the administration, is now that the pandemic has shown us that the world of work is not just how far you would drive to get a job. Like that's how I used to think about labor sheds, right? Now it's, you could live in, rural Illinois and work on my team at the US Department of Education. Like how has the world of work's shift to virtual and remote, yeah, come join my team, shifted how we're thinking about equitable access to and engagement to labor market opportunities for students, regardless of their demography. Like for too long, demography is destiny in education, right? It's your zip code, it's your family's income that frankly is the biggest determinant. It's your race, your gender, your ethnicity, your disability status that determines your opportunities. We need to do away with demography as destiny and really make sure that we're building equitable pathways for all. So I'm inspired that I see great equitable work happening across so many different states in our great country, and would love to follow up with exemplars if you're looking for specific exemplars.
Yeah, that's great. And we are always willing to connect you all to Amy, to the federal government. Already talked about the work in the Moore region and Southern Illinois for rural examples about really great collaboration in that rural context. I
would love to connect more on the rural front on all of your work, frankly.
Wonderful. Well, it was exciting to hear as you talk through the unlocking career success and the various components of it. I was like, yeah, that sounds kind of familiar with some of the work that we're doing. And I know that you've been very involved in a lot of ways of the work we've been doing in the state through the network, and would love to hear you speak a little bit more to the alignment about what you've seen and that you're familiar with the state of Illinois policies and with the network's efforts to where you're trying to push the work from the U.S. Department of Ed's perspective.
Yeah. Well, I already called out your excellent post-secondary and career expectations framework. Like the PACE framework is, such a simple tool, right? But it really visualizes how we support students developmentally over time to engage in, not just career readiness and post-secondary readiness, but I love that you also have financial literacy in there too. Like that's a powerful tool, of course, from the financial aid and paying for post-secondary standpoint, but really in the how do we prepare young people to be able to lead their lives powerfully into the future from a financial standpoint. I think about my own daughter who, loves things like drawing and arts and graphic design, and like the disconnect between how students think about what their passions are and what the labor market needs. And so how to ensure that, you're really supporting every young person to, yes, ground who they are in what they do, and center their passion and purpose there, but also connect to what are their futures in the fields in which they're passionate. Like, how do we ensure that they'll have a family sustaining wage, that they'll have a growth trajectory? And so I love how you're